So I thought it was time that we did a head-to-head comparison between the Leatherman Arc and the Roxon Flex and sort of give you guys my thoughts on these two really great tools in more of the mid-size multi-tool segment. Now I feel like Leatherman is very clear that they feel like the Leatherman Arc is now the leader in the segment, and so they've sort of staked their claim as this is the best tool you can buy for the price, and hopefully, they believe that way because $230 is a lot of money. So that's what they seem to believe. Now, with a Leatherman Arc, there are a lot of advantages. I think a lot of people see this as one of the greatest tool sets Leatherman has ever come out with because it's all outside opening. And you've got the bit driver, you've got the micro driver, you've got these long implements, you've got the saw, the blade, MagnaCut blade, you've got the file, the scissors, you've got the hammer surface on the end, you've got the pliers, USA made, you've got the magnet architecture. So I think Leatherman is trying to convince people, and a lot of people are convinced because Leatherman Arc seems to be selling really well, that this is a fantastic tool, but it does have a couple drawbacks. The primary one is the huge price tag, $230. Now enter the Roxon Flex. I almost called it the Leatherman Flex, but the Roxon Flex. And what we have right here is a tool set reminiscent of a lot of the things that you would get from the Victorinox Spirit. And the tools inside sort of remind you of Victorinox, this one especially right here, and some of the other ones as well. And one of the things I didn't mention is you do get a lot longer implements in the middle as well. Sometimes multi-tools have a lot of very small, really small ones because they're trying to compensate for the pliers. And so you can't have very long implements in the middle, but these are fairly decent length. So I do like that as well. And with the Roxon right here, you do get a lot of really cool tools. Now, the price point, from what I'm hearing, is around the $80 mark. So somewhere around there compared to the Leatherman Arc at around the $230 mark. So keep that in mind, and that should be a differential definitely between the two in terms of price. Now, one of the things obviously that is a huge advantage for the Roxon Flex is that there are a lot of options. So rather than the Leatherman Arc, which you basically get what you have unless you want to mod, and the Leatherman Arc, from what I've seen, is one of the harder platforms to mod because of the springs and everything. But what you get is a lot of options. So what they sent me from Roxon was the fish descaler, the gouger, the scalpel holder, and then we have the file, the three-sided file. There's a serrated blade. There is a diamond file. And then I actually put in the serrated blade in mine, but there is the just regular blade, the full saw blade, and then someone asked what this is, and I think this is a wire gauge. So you can put this on wire to see what kind of gauge it is. So I think that's what that is. So a lot of different tools, a lot of different options. And from what I've heard, Roxon will be providing even more. And then hopefully on the secondary market, people will be printing all kinds of options for their Roxon Flex, which I think would be amazing. So that is where the Roxon Flex shines. Now, when we talk about the Leatherman Arc, it also has a huge secondary following for the market. Again, PC Doodle makes this flashlight for it. You've got all kinds of makers from Kristen Van Patten making the ferro rod inserts and tweezers. I think I still have those in mine. And then, of course, the Zap Wizard holster for all kinds of options, and several others that we keep seeing pop up as well. So all kinds of different and unique options for the Leatherman Arc. So as far as the secondary market, the Arc does have a lot of options, but as far as the main blades go, a lot of these I think will remain the same. You can swap them out with the Leatherman P4 and P2. You can do that. But again, it's a little bit more involved process. And with the Roxon, it will be a lot more easier process. So there is that. And by easier, I mean extremely easy. So let's go ahead, just in case someone hasn't seen how you do this, you go ahead, you can lock this right here, go ahead, and there we go. We take it out, we make sure we have enough space, we go ahead and put it back in, and you're ready to go. So very, very simple to do that right there. So really like that system. Roxon has done an amazing job. Now, I did want to mention that I've been carrying this Roxon Flex for several days now, and basically I have no major issue with it. I think it's a fantastic tool. You can always find a niggle here and there, like this pocket clip isn't extremely solid, but I probably could just tighten it down. But overall, this is a fantastic tool. I love this right here. So this is great. I thought the Victorinox Spirit was one of the best tools, but unfortunately, you know, you've got those rivets, so you can't really change the tool set. And so essentially what Roxon has done, I feel like, is given a Spirit that you can change out the implements, which is fantastic. Now, again, it is missing one of the longer implements. So with the Arc, you do get an extra implement, but it's so easy to change out. I don't think that's a huge issue. And usually I don't use all 4 large implements on a daily basis anyway. Usually I'm using the knife and the scissors. That's basically it, and the screwdriver and the pliers. Those are my 4 main things. So anyway, that's for me, but I'm sure other people, you know, you'll say, well, I use all the implements every day. So in that case, perhaps the Leatherman Arc is more in your ballpark. Now, when we talk about weight, there is not much difference between these two. So the Leatherman Arc comes in at 8.6 ounces. It's a little bit slimmer. And the Roxon Flex comes in at 8.9 ounces. Now, that's 252 grams, again, for those overseas. But, you know, it's 0.3 ounces different. So, and by the time you add on all your things that you've bought, your Leatherman Arc probably weighs just as much as your Leatherman Arc. Or your Roxon Flex, I mean. So I think they both weigh very, very similar. Now, one of the things I do think is a huge advantage with the Roxon Flex is I don't see any sharp edges. So you've got your very smooth handles, very comfortable to use in the hand. Excellent, excellent design. So if someone wants a very smooth, very comfortable handled tool, I think the Flex is definitely for you. It is, I think it's Roxon's greatest tool, and I think it's really good. Now with the Arc, it is good, but some people have said down here at the bottom, it can dig into your hand right here. That there can be some sharp edges, that when you're using it, it can be uncomfortable. And I think it's actually right here where this right here can sort of dig into your hand. So some people have mentioned that it's not that comfortable because, you know, you're holding right against these joints right here. Whereas with the Roxon Flex, it's very comfortable, really nice to hold. So that makes a big difference for those of you who plan to use the pliers very consistently. So let's talk about pliers. So when we look at the plier selection, they are very similar, which I'm a little bit surprised. I haven't actually compared them, but very similar. Even when we look in the shape, they're fairly similar as well. So the Leatherman Arc comes a little bit more, perhaps, needle nose, and the Flex might be a little bit more blunt, but fairly similar that way. Now, when we talk again about coat hanger wire, which again, I'm sure a lot of you are very tired of hearing about this, but you have to be very intentional with a Leatherman Arc that you cut it right. So let's go ahead and try that again. All right, so there we go. And these actually are my new cutters, so that really doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying is the old cutters. I forgot I had put the good ones in here actually from AliExpress. But on your Leatherman cutters, you have to be very intentional. So those do a good job cutting coat hanger wire. And with this right here on the Roxon Flex, there's a specific notch right there. So you do have to get it in that notch, and then it does cut fairly well. Now, someone mentioned that they thought the cutters were already marred in one of the videos. I don't see that. I don't see that they're misshapen. To me, they still seem to be, fairly good. I don't see really any damage, and I've cut a lot of coat hanger over several videos. So both these seem good. So again, if you're not aware, all Leathermans now get some, they have some new cutters, and they have a notch in the bottom here that you have to be very intentional to use coat hanger and put it in the right notch. It has a tendency to slip in the bottom between these jaws right here and sort of not cut. So Leatherman changed the design of the cutters. So these are actually an older style cutter that you can still buy on AliExpress. These are sort of fake Damascus, but they actually still keep the Leatherman design of how they used to make good cutters. And so that's why I like these. So these actually do good, but when I have tested the cutters that came, the replaceable cutters, the first ones broke because of bad heat treatment. The replaceable ones still have that annoying notch, but they will cut coat hanger wire, but you have to fit them in correctly. So keep that in mind. And then another thing to mention is I really like too that you can lock these tools. I usually don't, but I just noticed they were falling out a little bit, so I figured I'd lock them. And then I get used to the spring action on the Flex. So when there was no spring action, I thought, oh no, did I break the Arc cutters? But they don't have that spring action. So I have to say it is a little bit of addicting when you use this for a while. You're expecting the pliers to spring back, and you just sort of get ready for it. And then when they don't, it's, oh, what's wrong? But nothing's wrong. It's just that's how these cutters are designed. So I think that's a big advantage too for the Roxon Flex, that they do have spring-loaded pliers. So again, the Leatherman Arc warranty will be a huge thing. I'm not sure that we really talked about that. 25-year warranty. I'm a little confused on Roxon. I've heard 25, 10-year, and then 90 days. So I need to get more concrete answers about the warranty. But with the Leatherman, they do have proven warranty. So that's a huge thing as well. Again, there's more tools in the handle. And then I think with the Arc, a lot of it too might be fidget factor. So a lot of it's just very fidgety, which is very cool to use. And with the Roxon, it is still very smooth. So you do get a little bit of fidget factor, but the fidget factor mainly comes, well, I guess actually this way. Oh, I have them locked. That's why. From deploying the blades. So that's pretty cool that you can just deploy the blades. I like that. That's pretty cool right there. All right, so which is better? Well, I think it all comes down to what you want. I think a lot of people will really enjoy the cheaper price point and to some extent the modularity, although I do think a lot of people sort of will pick a tool set and just keep it in there. I think both of these have a lot of advantages, and you probably shouldn't overlook either one because they might have something that you want. And again, of course, the huge thing for the Leatherman Arc is it does have the MagnaCut blade. I'm still waiting back to hear from Roxon, the tool materials, and we'll have to see what kind of knife options they offer. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the days, weeks, and months ahead.